4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor at 345 Hudson Street, Welcome on in to what is a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. And you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb, ZachGelb. A busy weekend in baseball, a busy weekend in the NFL, and also a busy weekend in college football as well. We'll get into all the college later. Jeremiyah Love, running back for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who are ranked 8th in the country at 7-1, is going to stop by at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time today. Coach Prime is going bowling as well. Mike Elko with another big victory. We'll get into all that. Obviously, a whole lot to get into in the NFL with the great victory. Hail Mary, Washington Commanders. The Eagles are starting to look like the Eagles. And the Cowboys, well, are the Cowboys, and it's never about just evaluating the Cowboys on the field. Now there's something to evaluate with the Cowboys off the field. And, oh yeah, by the way, we will get into a little World Series later, as the Dodgers have taken a commanding 2-0 series lead. The series now shifts back to the big ballpark in the Bronx, where there will be 3 games, maybe, for the Yankees. We'll see if the Yankees can get on the board tonight and get into the win column. I'm actually going to the game tonight. So we'll try to enjoy the Fall Classic, and we'll see what happens. You know, the Dodgers, they take the first 2. Freeman with the big grand salami in game 1, then they win game 2. And Stu is in like a good but then a miserable mood because Stu ended up, I didn't know Big Buck Stu, by the way, going to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish game at MetLife Stadium up against Navy. A little un-American with some of your tweets, you know, trashing Navy and supporting the Fighting Irish, but hey, Stu, you had to enjoy your weekend of college football and just ignore the baseball with your Yankees being 2 games away from getting eliminated and the Dodgers hoisting that crappy piece of metal that Rob Manfred refers to, which is the Commissioner's Trophy.
Yeah, ignore the NFL and ignore the World Series.
Your NFL team showed somewhat of a fight.
They did.
They didn't get embarrassed. They didn't get run off the field, and Travis Kelce scored a touchdown. You know, I'm an idiot, by the way.
Okay.
Because I love anytime touchdown bets. When it is National Tight Ends Day, I need to next year just concoct like 5 parlays all with tight ends. There's tight ends yesterday that are scoring that you couldn't even pick out if they were standing right in front of you. You had no clue who they were. And like every tight end got into the end zone yesterday. So I need to revisit my betting strategy next year when it comes to National Tight Ends Day. All right, let's get to the biggest joke, the biggest circus, the biggest clown show in the NFL. You know, when I look back to the last 15, 20 years, and I think about a team that has been hyped up, everyone's buying in, they're sending Sports Center out to training camp, right? There's a lot of national buzz. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the media is doing 1 segment a day, talking about that team and the palpable buzz that's building and brewing and buzzing and going nuts with that team in the offseason. I go back to the Eagles, the Dream Team Eagles of 2011, which got off to a horrendous start to the season, and then they finished the year at 8-8. But that season, even though you finished the year at 8-8 from where the expectations were, it was an unmitigated disaster. So in the last 15 to 20 years, if you say, Zach, who is one of the more disappointing NFL teams that you've ever seen, considering big moves in the offseason, considering a giant hype train that was run all around the place throughout the summer, who was the answer? Who was the team? And it was clearly the Dream Team Eagles. Dream Team Eagles, you guys are not going to be referred to as that team anymore. Because the answer now are the 2024 New York Jets, which any bad word that you could think of pretty much describes the Jets. They are lazy. They are sloppy. They are lethargic. They are putrid. And they are one big fat clown show. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of everybody making excuses for Aaron Rodgers. For years, we all heard about how great Aaron Rodgers is, and I get it. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a top 10 quarterback of all time. He's won a Super Bowl. But there's always been one thing circling Aaron Rodgers. And it's the ghost. It's the boogeyman. It's the idea of him winning a second Super Bowl. And what Aaron Rodgers does is when things don't go his way, he blames everybody else. And there are sycophants of Aaron Rodgers that sit there and they blame the Packers defense when he was in Green Bay. They blame the Packers special teams. They blame the Packers coach. They blame the Packers offensive line. They blame the general manager. They blame not getting him another wide receiver to complement Davante Adams. Sometimes that failure and that blame is justified. But when it's 10 out of 10 all the time, exonerating the blame of Aaron Rodgers, I just won't stand for it. And just look at this year in New York. Look at this year in New York. He wanted Robert Saleh back in the offseason. And then Robert Saleh became critical of his quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers, even though he won't admit this, but we all know it's the truth, they'll blame it on Woody Johnson, said, hey, Robert, I'm going to get you fired. And he got the coach fired. And Stu even knows this. When you have an interim coach come in, it may not be a long emotional shift, but there is at least a 1 week shift where the team responds and the team goes to war and the team goes to battle and the team fights for the interim coach because they got embarrassed and they got a coach fired. The Jets haven't won a damn game since getting rid of Robert Saleh. And everyone's pointing fingers, who's to blame? Who's to blame? They just got Davante Adams. Oh, the offensive line is struggling. Breece Hall's not looking like the Breece Hall of old. Garrett Wilson, he's not adapting with Aaron Rodgers. The defense is good, but it's not great. All the excuses get used. This starts and ends with the relationship between two people who have been an unmitigated disaster with the Jets during this short era, or should I say error, because that's what it's been. And it is the quarterback of the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and it is their lousy owner and Woody Johnson. Because the owner created a culture in which Aaron Rodgers could do whatever he wants with no checks and balances. And Aaron Rodgers has taken that baton, and even for the Jets standard, which was not a high standard to begin with, he has run the Jets into the ground. The Jets were better last year with Zach Wilson as their quarterback than they've been this year with Aaron Rodgers sitting there losing 5 straight games and being 2-6. And your 2 wins have come up against the Patriots and the Titans. And let me tell you something. I say this as a Patriot fan. We can't block. We can't catch. We have to go to our backup quarterback because Drake May got knocked out of the game with the concussion. And even with all the things the Patriots can't do, it's still good enough to beat the GD Jets. The lousy, stinking Jets. So all you Jet fans who threw that parade in week 3 on Thursday Night Football, we embarrassed the Patriots. Well, the Patriots just ended your season. Officially ended your season. Not that there was much optimism to begin with, but some just delirious Jet fans still thought this team could turn it around. And I'm sick and tired, by the way, of everyone making excuses for Aaron Rodgers. And you know what? I should have been happy yesterday. And don't get me wrong. I was happy. But I do this show, and usually what sets me off, and sometimes it's the teams that I root for, sometimes it's the teams that I don't like, but I have one principle, one thing. It doesn't matter if I love your team or if I hate your team. When someone makes a bad situation worse and doesn't take accountability and tries to make a witty comment when the team is not performing well, that's what sets me off. I'm a man of accountability. And Aaron Rodgers has zero accountability. And even when he pretends to have accountability, it's one big joke. It's a facade. He makes it sound like he's taking ownership and he's having accountability. But his words before that totally negates anything else that he says after the joke that he pulls off yesterday. So Jeff Ulbrich, innocuously, says after the game, "This is a moment of darkness, and we understand that the outside world is going to get really loud right now." So this Aaron Rodgers, this dope, this guy who has no interest of actually winning in New York, and he's been an unmitigated disaster in New York, he takes to the podium and he gets asked about what the coach said. And this is one of the most disgraceful, pathetic, and just stupid responses that you're going to hear from a veteran, a top 10 quarterback of all time, a quarterback that is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the great quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. And this answer just shows you why I never want to hear anyone mention Aaron Rodgers in the same breath as Tom Brady, as John Elway, as Joe Montana, as Patrick Mahomes. You know, you could go on and on and on with the all-time great quarterbacks. And I get it. I just said Rodgers a top 10 quarterback. But there's a difference in being a top 10 quarterback and a top 5 quarterback. Like Aaron Rodgers gets into the really cool club. He gets into the exclusive club. But even in the exclusive club, there's an exclusive club in the exclusive club. And Rodgers could know some people in the exclusive club, but he's not in that club. He's in the club just outside of the exclusive club. And it's because of moments like this.
Yeah, I've been in the darkness. You got to go in there, make peace with it. Offensively, our goal has just got to be score 30. Doesn't matter what the other two sides are doing. You know, we have trust in our defense and teams. But if we're not scoring 30, we're underachieving. This offense can do that every single week.
He makes a witty joke about the stupid darkness retreat that he goes on that we all make fun of. That's what he does when Jeff Ulbrich says, "We're in a moment of darkness right now." And he's like, "Oh, I'm an expert on darkness. You know, I fought against the darkness before." Are you kidding me? And that answer shows me why Aaron Rodgers has never won a second Super Bowl in this league. Because he doesn't care about winning. He doesn't. He doesn't basically live and die on the football field, live, sleep, breathe, drink football like Tom Brady has, or Peyton Manning has, or John Elway has, or Patrick Mahomes has. And that's the difference. And I know sometimes people poke fun in the draft process when we talk about doing whatever it takes to win, and also just basically selling your soul for the NFL. And I'm not saying that you can't enjoy life, but the great quarterbacks make you think that 24/7, all they think about is football, 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 football. And what does Aaron Rodgers think about? Darkness retreats, maybe running for vice president, ayahuasca, and now he is so intelligent that he has a greater ability to think than anyone else in the history of this country. Like, enough with this guy. Your team is 2-6. You can't beat a Patriot team who can't block, who can't catch, and they're playing Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. And you can't outscore him? And your coach says this is a moment of darkness for the franchise, and you make some witty remark? A witty remark about your experience in the cave with the darkness retreat? Loser behavior. Loser, 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 loser behavior by Aaron Rodgers. That was a disgraceful answer. And you know what? He made his bed, and now he has to lie in it. Because this, for a lot of Jets fans and for a lot of players in that locker room, it is going to be a slow, ugly, miserable, and I mean miserable, final 2 months of the season. But let's be real. This quarterback doesn't give a flying you-know-what. He doesn't. He does not do whatever it takes to win. And I get it, he's 40. I get it, he's playing on one leg. But he's not a good leader. There's reasons why he's never won a second Super Bowl. He's an excuse maker. He doesn't take accountability. And in a moment where this team just had an embarrassing moment, even for the Jets standard, this is one of the more all-time embarrassing losses where you're playing an inferior football team and you can't beat them. He sits there and he's being serious, but it comes off as a witty joke about his expertise in fighting against the darkness, in fighting about that time that he put himself in a cave and he had that darkness retreat. That's loser. And I mean loser behavior and a loser mentality by Aaron Rodgers. And it shows you why this dude, with how early he won a Super Bowl, with all of his talent in this league that he has, and his all-time great career, why he never won a second Super Bowl, or he never even got to a second big game. The Aaron Rodgers era in New York is over. It's done. But now you have to seriously think, this idiot, and I mean idiot, ambassador, if he'll actually give it another season. Because that's on the table. We know the experiment is donezo. But will the Jets continue to feed into the pain of this disastrous season and say, you know what? They won 3 out of their last 4 games. Maybe there could be a little bit of an uptick, and they bring this dude back. And if they do, you know what? That's why each and every year, the Jet fan says, just end the season. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. I'll give you 3 college football takes next. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227 on social media, at Zach Gelb, Twitter and Instagram. And you know what? Maybe we should turn the lights off in the studio. Maybe we just see what it's like and what it's like to be in the darkness to see how we could fight it. And maybe I'll have better ideas how to save this sinking ship. This sinking ship in New York. Seriously. The Jets make the Titanic look good, if we're being serious with you. Jeez Louise. Alrighty, coming on back. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields guards and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get to 3 college football takeaways off what was, I wouldn't say a very busy weekend of college football. Like up until that LSU A&M game, I actually thought one of the more entertaining games of the weekend was actually a game that occurred late Friday night when Boise State was able to defeat UNLV, and Ashton Jeanty only had like 130 yards rushing in the game, which is now like a bad game for Ashton Jeanty. But, you know, Boise State remains undefeated, and even after the slow start, they got the job done. There were a few other games that stood out to me along the way, like Texas and Vanderbilt was a better game than I thought it was going to be. And Vanderbilt has just had some real gritty performances the other day. Texas was never in jeopardy of losing that game, but the game was closer than what I thought it would be, especially after Texas lost to Georgia. You thought Texas would come out and swing a little bit harder. And then also, I got to give credit to Nebraska. Oh, boy. I thought Nebraska, with Go Big Red and the Cornhuskers, had crying day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. I thought they had them. And it just shows you that Nebraska is still probably a year away. You know, Raiola has had some good moments. Then he's had some freshman moments, not the freshman moments that are a positive thing. You know how that is term is used to be meant. And there's been some moments like that for Nebraska. But to see how they just got dismantled, and I mean dismantled, by Indiana and Signetti, to then go to Columbus and have Ohio State on the ropes, whew, that was an impressive response by the Nebraska Cornhuskers, even though it did not lead to a victory. And I don't want to say I'm happy that Ohio State won, because I'll be the first one to admit it. If you guys know me, I was rooting for Nebraska. And then I saw Penn State got off to a little bit of a sloppy start against Wisconsin, and then Aller gets banged up, and he didn't play in the second half. But you knew that Penn State was going to find the way to win that game. But with that game being Saturday, this upcoming Saturday at noon Eastern, it would have taken away from that game if we saw either Ohio State or Penn State go down. But to the 3 college football takeaways, and by the way, here's the biggest update of them all. Because I told you on Saturday, I had that issue with the mattress company as I ordered a new mattress and a new bed frame. And I told you earlier in the week, I gave them enough notice I got the insurance with my building taken care of and that certificate. And they were like, oh, well, we don't know if we could get it to you on Saturday. Well, you guaranteed me it was going to be Saturday delivery. And I did everything I can. So you got to get it there by Saturday. And I said, you got to get it on Saturday to my apartment after 9:45 a.m. Eastern time. Because of the fact that I do my quick 30-minute show on WFAN in New York on Saturday mornings from 9 to 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So they said, well, make a note, but we could have no guarantees. And then, of course, I get the notice on Friday right before we get on the air, or shortly before we got on the air, that the delivery time is expected to be anywhere between 8 to 10 a.m., and the estimated delivery time, the exact estimation, is 8:15. So I'm like, ugh, this is going to be a disaster. Stu, I'll tell you, I told you I've been a good person these days. I got a call at 7 in the morning. 7 in the morning. Hey, we got on the road a little bit earlier than expected. We should be at your apartment by no later than 7:45. So at least it was okay. I could get you entry. If it takes a while to set up, I could then let my doorman escort you out of the building, make sure that, my place doesn't get robbed or anything like that. Not that I have that many valuables. I got 2 TVs on the wall. I got 2 watches that I like. And then if you want to steal anything else out of my apartment, quite frankly, I don't really care. But they got there at 7:45. They set up that bed frame and moved the mattress over within 20 minutes. And it was a big bed frame. So I applaud, as much as people like to bitch about customer service, I applaud the fine folks that were associated with this company. And they did a good job. Gave them a tip, even though I didn't have to tip, but I thought it was the right thing because they took care of business. And then away they went with their other 10 deliveries on the day. So the mattress is secured. The mattress works well. The bed frame works well. And I've had a very peaceful, it was Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. Oh, no, sorry, Saturday night and Sunday night of sleeps. And I feel refreshed. I feel like I'm good to go, ready to rock and roll on a Monday. All righty, let's get to the 3 college football takeaways. Takeaway number 1. There's been a lot of discourse about Coach Prime. And going into last year, I said a successful season for Coach Prime would maybe be at best 4 wins is what I could say. And last year, Colorado started off the year 3-0. And then it was hey, you got to get to bowl eligibility. And they only won 1 game down the stretch. But Coach Prime was taking over a program in peril. And he had Shedeur Sanders. He had Travis Hunter. You had individual stars. But you knew that the roster had to be totally revamped in the offseason to get the rest of the guys to not even be on the same level as Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, because he can't be. I think Shedeur Sanders, he's a top 3 quarterback in the country. I think there's a legitimate chance he's the number 1 overall pick in the draft if a team needs a quarterback. Right now, I think the 2 best quarterbacks in terms of draft prospects in the country are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, who are draft eligible, right? So you knew how great Shedeur was, and Travis Hunter is a freak of nature. He plays both ways. He is elite. He is so outstanding when it comes to the ability of Travis Hunter. The question just is, can he stay healthy? So last year, they had a good start and a miserable finish where they only won 1 game down the stretch after starting the year off 3-0. Expectations change. So before the year, if you told me, hey, they would have won 4 games, I would have said, hey, it's a success. But when you start the year off 3-0, you needed to get to bowl eligibility. Then heading into this year, especially with that sloppy game in the first week of the season up against North Dakota State, and I was someone that said, I think Colorado could get to 6 wins, but if you put a gun to my head, I would say 5 wins and they just miss out on bowl eligibility. It's not that I didn't believe in Coach Prime. It's not that I didn't believe in Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter. I just had concerns about the rest of the team, outside of a few other players. But with how they looked up against North Dakota State, which they were lucky to win that game, and then they get smacked in week 2 by Nebraska, I thought that take was going to age well. But really, this team showed me what they could be up against UCF when they were a double-digit dog on the road and they won the game going away. So Coach Prime, over the weekend, got to bowl eligibility, got 6 wins, and it's one of the great turnarounds that we've seen in college football in a 2-year stretch. It's magnificent. He's winning games. I don't know if they're going to go win the Big 12, but it's possible right now. I'm not going to say they are. You have two guys that are Heisman Trophy candidates in Shador and then obviously Travis Hunter. And I'll get to my Heisman rankings in just a bit. But the Coach Prime era, for what we want to say or what you want to say, it doesn't matter. It's a success so far. Bowl eligibility in year 2, and you have two of the best players in the country and two players who are going to be top 5, top 10 picks in the draft. So that's take number 1. Take number 2. I think a lot of people confuse my view of Texas A&M. Texas A&M, when they had an opportunity to hire Mark Stoops in the offseason, and they wanted to, it was vehemently opposed by their fan base in a laughable, embarrassing, and pathetic display by Aggies fans. Now, just because they opposed the Mark Stoops hire didn't mean that the hire of Mike Elko was a bad hire. I would venture to say that no one has talked about Mike Elko in a more positive way for a longer time in the national media than me. And if you want receipts, I got receipts. And you know when my receipts start? Dating back to 2018. 2018, when I was advocating for Mike Elko to be a head coach. 2018. The guy just got a head coaching job this past offseason. So I'm a fan of Mike Elko. I was just disgusted by the overreaction and gross overreaction by Aggies fans. With that being said, though, what Mike Elko is doing right now has Texas A&M in a prime playoff position. And even though I'm a big Elko fan, I would have never thought that was the case before the season started. I thought they were in the top 25 and the back end of the top 25 just in name recognition. And then after they played Notre Dame in week 1, where Notre Dame walked into their house and I don't even think played an A game. They were not at their best, Notre Dame, and they beat A&M by 10 points, 23-13. If you would have told me that there would have been a part later in the season, even with the 12-team playoff, that we'd be talking about A&M as a playoff team, I would have requested a drug test to be sent to your home right away. But since then, they have won 7 games in a row. And hey, they smashed Missouri. They went into the swamp. They smashed Florida, started Marcel Reed. And you've had the ups and downs at the quarterback position. At first it's Wegman, then it's Reed, then it's back to Wegman. But they're going up against LSU, which I vacillated all throughout the week on this game. And I didn't really have a great feel on this game. And I said, this game means so much to Brian Kelly. If you put a gun to my head, which this would now be 2 times in the segment, I'd be dead. I would guess lean begrudgingly LSU in this one, even though I don't trust Brian Kelly in a big spot. And it was 17-7. And you have people talking about Nussmeier at LSU as a first-round pick and maybe the first quarterback off the board in this draft. And at 17-7 in the second half, you had a Nussmeier interception to an A&M touchdown, a fumble by LSU, an A&M touchdown, and then another Nussmeier interception, and then another A&M touchdown, which made it a 28-17 game. And LSU then answers back, 28-23, and then boom, they put the game away with 8 minutes to go, and Le'Veon Moss had that 3-yard rushing touchdown. But the big difference in this one was Nussmeier made crucial mistakes. They benched Connor Wegman. Marcel Reed comes in, and he was awesome. He had 3 rushing touchdowns in the game, 62 yards rushing, and only had 2 passes, completed both of them for 70 yards. And he should be starting, obviously, for the rest of the year. But A&M is in a prime position to make the playoff. Because if you have 2 losses, you should be in. Now, if they get 2 losses, I'll be curious to see if they get in. But they should beat South Carolina. And that game could concern me a little bit because I saw the spread today. They're out South Carolina. South Carolina's only a 3.5-point favorite. So I think that game could be a little bit trickier, especially after the emotional highs of taking care of LSU. But then you play New Mexico State, a bad Auburn team, and Hugh Freeze, geez. You know, for people that say, like, I'm a Coach Prime hater, which I don't get, I was saying that Auburn should have hired Coach Prime. That's what I said when he was at Jackson State. But then the final game of the season is Texas. And you could lose that game and still get into the college football playoff. But you got to lose it close. But they only have 1 loss right now, and it's to Notre Dame. And if you look at all the teams in the great SEC, and just their conference records, not total records, conference records, A&M doesn't have a loss and the only team not to have a loss in conference play in the SEC this year. So a heck of a job by Mike Elko. And then finally, Oregon and Georgia, with what I've seen this year, are the two best teams in college football. I know Georgia lost to Alabama. They responded strong in the second half. Then shortly after that, they made a big statement up against Texas. They had that scare up against Kentucky too, I get it, but they still won. And Oregon started off the year winning, and they haven't lost a game yet. But Oregon, their first two games against Idaho and Boise State were underwhelming. And since then, Dylan Gabriel's got comfortable in this offense. Tez Johnson's a remarkable wide receiver, and that Oregon defense is starting to look the way that Oregon defense should look under Dan Lanning. Georgia and Oregon, to me, through 8 games, pretty much the college football schedule, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, they look like the two best teams in the nation. Now, real quickly, my Heisman rankings. I think 1 and 2 right now is a debate between Ashton, Jeanty, and Travis Hunter. After what Hunter did the other day, if you want to put him 1, I'm good with it. If you want to put Jeanty 1, you know I'm more than good with it. Personally, I would give the slight edge to Jeanty. He's never really had a down moment this year. You know, Travis Hunter the last 2 weeks up until, the 2 weeks before this weekend has had to miss some time with some injuries. So I'd put Jeanty 1, Hunter 2, and then the quarterbacks are between Gabriel, Ward, and Shedeur Sanders. And right now I would give the slight edge to Cam Ward. So I was voting today, Jeanty slightly at 1, Travis Hunter 2, and then Cam Ward in at number 3. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We will get to a news brief next. Update time first, though. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive, which is proud to support veterans and small businesses with their annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. Tonight is a pivotal Game 3 of the World Series as the Yankees host the Dodgers after dropping a pair in L.A. New York was in both games but needs to star Aaron Judge to get going. The likely American League MVP is 6 for 40 in the postseason and 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
We've been through a lot of adversity through 162 and even in this postseason, so guys are going to step up, guys are going to do what they need to do. I got to step up as well. Especially with Glaber and what Warner doing at the top of the lineup, man, I got to back them up. So, they're going to keep getting on base. I got to drive them in or move them over.
And Shohei Ohtani expected to play despite a partially dislocated shoulder. The Monday night matchup features the Giants and Steelers in Pittsburgh. Packers quarterback Jordan Love considered day-to-day with a groin injury and could play next week, while Colts head coach Shane Steichen was asked about Anthony Richardson's starting status for Sunday night and said everything is being evaluated. Bears left tackle Braxton Jones suffered a knee injury yesterday. He is considered week to week. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Yo, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. If you're a fan of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, well, Jeremiyah Love, their running back who had 2 touchdowns on Saturday up against Navy, is going to stop by 15 minutes from now at the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. It's time to ask the pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sports Letter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the program when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts, for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. We played it for you about 45 minutes ago, but if you need a good laugh. So Jeff Ulbrich said that the Jets are basically in the darkness right now. This is a dark moment. And then it was asked to Aaron Rodgers about that quote from Jeff Ulbrich, and here is the quarterback of the 2-6 Jets, and how he elected the 2-6 Jets, and how he elected to answer that question.
Yeah, I've been in the darkness. You got to go in there, make peace with it. Offensively, our goal has just got to be score 30. Doesn't matter what the other two sides are doing. You know, we have trust in our defense and teams, but if we're not scoring 30, we're underachieving. This offense can do that every single week.
Yeah, no one wants to hear about your darkness retreat and how you're an expert in fighting against the darkness. I'm just sorry. And he said they want to score 30, Stu. Did I hear that correct? He wants to score 30 on offense. Well, let me just entertain you here. This is the Jets this year. 19 points against San Francisco. 24 against Tennessee. 24 against New England. 9 against Denver. 17 against Minnesota. Buffalo, 20. Pittsburgh, 15. New England, 22. Haven't scored 30 this year. That's not a realistic goal. That's like me saying, hey, you know, I want to go out with Beyonce, right? That's not realistic. The Jets scoring 30, not realistic. Here's Devon Gottschall of the Patriots making it clear how he views Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think he's struggling right now. You know, just a Hall of Fame quarterback like that. Just hate to see him go out that way, but you know, always gonna take a win against him. You know, build on your resume. But yeah, he definitely don't look the same. You just don't look like he could move back there. Shit, I could run him down and catch him. He don't look mobile at all. You know, so it was good for us. You know, we know we can get after him and attack him in the passing game too.
There you go. Tells you everything about how the league right now views the great Aaron Rodgers. So I felt good for Cleveland Browns fans yesterday. And unfortunately, we found out, you know, Jim Donovan, their longtime broadcaster, passed away, you know, after a long fight with cancer. And, you know, it was a very emotional moment in that Browns broadcast booth. But that's a Browns team that not only did they win one, you know, for the life and the remembrance of Jim, but that's a team that you saw just how much better they are when Deshaun Watson isn't under center. And I thought what Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston said after the game last week was disgraceful. You know, I know that they were coming from a good place, but when you're starting to make it out that Deshaun Watson is a model citizen, please save it for somebody else because I don't want to hear it. But you saw up against a very good team in the Baltimore Ravens, one of the better teams in the league, the Browns look pretty damn good. And Jameis Winston was 27 of 41 for 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I'll just say this to Deshaun Watson's camp, because the Deshaun Watson camp goes out of their way to blame everybody else and try to make it be that Deshaun Watson's still a great quarterback and that injuries just derailed his time in Cleveland. Well, why is it when they put anybody else under center, they look a lot better than Deshaun Watson? It's because your dude is just not that good anymore. He's not that guy anymore. All right? And I was, you know, someone that was extremely positive about Deshaun Watson going back to 2019, 2020, and the elite seasons or the great seasons that he did have. But that quarterback is long, long, long gone. Here is Jameis Winston on the great pregame speech that he gave before the game.
I believe. Me too. I believe. Me too. I believe. Come on. I believe. I believe. Listen, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard what the Lord got for the Cleveland Browns. Come on. Okay? We don't have to see instant gratification. We don't have to see something good happen to folks. We got to believe. Yes, sir. We got to have that unwavering faith. Come on. I got that. Come on. All right. You got one opportunity. You got one opportunity. Yeah. I'm stopping, man. And I believe in my crew. Hold with me. I'm with you. Family on 3, family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family. Believe.
The only other thing that would make that better is if he just said, I'm the captain now. Forget about that quarterback, Deshaun Watson. He sucks. I'll be average and it'll still be better than Deshaun Watson. Here is Jameis Winston after the game. He quotes Eminem following the Browns' big victory over the Ravens.
There's a white boy from Detroit that I really admire named Eminem. He said, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity lasts once in a lifetime. And I know I got a quote. You know, Eminem, he from Detroit, he right up the road, but, man, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that the Lord provided me with this opportunity. I'm grateful for my teammates, my coaches, and these amazing fans.
See, now, usually the players will quote the Lord first or thank the Lord first and then get into the juicy quote. I've never heard a player quote Eminem and then go into thanking the Lord. It's usually in the reverse order. That's awesome. Here is Joe Burrow. The Bengals, they're 3-5. They got embarrassed in that second half up against the Philadelphia Eagles. People keep on telling me how great the Bengals are. They're paper tigers. That's what they are right now. Because when it's time to prove it on the field, they don't show what people think they could be when we talk about them off the field. So there's nothing tangible for the year of 2024 that you could point to and grab onto and say, okay, this is why I believe in the Cincinnati Bengals. And their biggest highlight of the season was a loss to the Chiefs. So stop with the nonsense about the Bengals. Here's their quarterback, though, Joe Burrow, on if Cincinnati could still make the playoffs.
I think 10 wins usually gets you in. So we got to win 7 out of 9. That's doable. It's doable. So we'll go from there.
So 10 gets you in. And right now they are 3-5. So, they're 3 wins, by the way. Panthers, Giants, Browns. Stink, stink, stink. Stu, can we find 7 wins for the Bengals? I'll give you the schedule.
Okay.
And this is not me poking at Stu and having fun at Stu. This is just the way the schedule lies.
Yep.
They play the Raiders.
That'll be a win.
Okay, so there's 1. Then they're at the Ravens.
That'll be a loss.
Then they're at the Chargers.
I think they could win that game.
Okay, I would disagree, but fine. It's like possible, but
yeah.
I just think the Chargers are going to ground and pound them. Steelers.
Loss.
At the Cowboys.
I'll say win.
At Tennessee.
Win. Definitely win.
Cleveland.
Win.
Broncos.
That's tougher than I thought it'd be. I'll say win.
And then at the Steelers.
Win.
Okay, so that's 7. You get the 7.
But again, that's best case scenario. There's some tough ones. There's some toss-ups in there where
I think you were being the most optimistic possible.
Yes.
And you got to the number of 7. And usually, if you're the most optimistic possible, there's usually at least 1 or 2 that you don't see coming. Okay, finally, let's get to Trayvon Diggs. He goes off on a reporter for a social media post that happened, by the way, during the game. Go ahead.
Out of that whole play, that's what you took from that? You don't know football. You can't do nothing that I do. You can't go out there and do nothing. Stay in your lane, buddy. Stop playing me, bro.
Just asking a question, Trayvon. I mean, I'm happy to have you answer the question.
Out of that whole play, that's what you took from that? That's what you got from that whole play, that's what you got from that?
I'm asking. We can talk about it more. What were you doing then?
Just a low class from Trayvon Diggs. Not surprising, but low class. I'm sorry. And this is the Cowboy machine where they care more about off the field and the headlines they could create than on the field. But that's the culture that Jerry Jones has created and Jerry Jones has really enabled with the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And they got off to a decent start. Then they allowed 24 unanswered points. They kind of made it a game at the end. But then when push comes to shove, Dak couldn't get the job done with the game on the line. But for Trayvon Diggs to see a post from Mike Leslie, who I think the reporter was, during the game that questioned his effort, just said, hey, what was Trayvon Diggs doing on this play? And Trayvon Diggs didn't even have his pads off. His pads weren't even off. He still had his shoulder pads on. And he's already able to see that tweet, not even get undressed, and then go outside and try to undress a reporter. And then when the reporter's like, hey, let's talk about it. You want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. He goes, yeah, let's talk about these nuts. Jeez. Cowboys, disaster. You know, the Jets, the Cowboys, maybe Cincinnati. Like, Cincinnati's just bad right now. They're not a circus. But the Jets and the Cowboys should go on vacation with one another for the rest of the football season because they deserve one another. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Notre Dame running back Jeremiyah Love joins us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Of our radio program, it is the Zach Gelb Show. Notre Dame is ranked 8th in the country after a big blowout victory over Navy. The Fighting Irish are 7-1 on the season. And now joining us is their sophomore running back, Jeremiyah Love, who, by the way, has had a touchdown in each and every game this season for the Fighting Irish. He had 2 more to his total this past weekend up against Navy, and he's kind enough to join us right now. Jeremiyah, appreciate the time. Congratulations on your success, and how you been?
Thank you. I've been pretty good.
Well, it was an interesting game to start on Saturday, right? You guys take that 14-0 lead, and then Navy, they fight back, and then you really opened up the game with your 64-yard touchdown run to make it 21-7. Just take me through that big touchdown run.
So play was inside zone, and coach was talking throughout, basically throughout the whole first half. You know, trust the run, trust your reads, and they called the play. The backer came down. He was free for a little bit, so had to like take a little stutter step and, trust that the O-line will work up to him, and they did. And once that happened, right off his butt, shooting to a touchdown.
Yeah, and we know what your speed is like because I know that you also competed in track in high school and you won the Missouri Class 5 state title in the 100-meter with the time of 10.76. I got to ask you, because you make it look just so easy on the football field when you're just so much quicker than everybody else. When was it early on in your life that you realized, wow, I just have an abnormal amount of speed?
I would say it was when I started running track. All my life I've been pretty fast, but like I've never known like I was like exceptionally fast, like faster than other people. So when I first started running track, it was my sophomore year. I was just coming into track, trying to stay keep my endurance up for football. And it just happened that I went far in track and ended up winning state my sophomore year. And initially it was just stay conditioned for football, but doing that and competing in track, that's when I really found out that I'm faster than a lot of other people. And that obviously translates to the football field, but it was my sophomore year. That was when I really found out.
Do you believe you're the fastest player in college football?
Yes, I would say so. Yes. If you put me on the line with anybody, I'm gonna beat them.
I love that answer. And here's the other thing. I know last year you were listed at 197.
Mm-hmm.
This year you're listed at 210. So you put on weight and you still haven't lost any speed. Was that surprising to you when you put on a good amount of weight that you're still as quick as you've been in the past?
Nah, I feel like I'm quicker now. Because I put on just straight muscle. So good weight. And I've only got more powerful, stronger, and faster. So yeah.
Jeremiyah, love with us. I know that in the past you've said that growing up, Barry Sanders really someone that you studied and you watched a lot of highlights. Now, he stopped playing football, and we all know the legendary Barry Sanders in 1998. You were born in 2005. So how and what were the reasons, other than he's just one of the greatest running backs ever, that really drew you to watching a ton of Barry Sanders tape?
It was my dad. And like he just, like would tell me to watch this person. Like I don't know like too much about, legends and football and all that type of stuff. But, my dad, he used to turn on his highlights to be like, watch him. And he was just basically like, kind of, he wants me to be like him. But, shoot, I don't really like emulate my game after anyone, but growing up, like I would watch bits and pieces of, Barry Sanders, and he was a great running back. And like, I can kind of see myself, like doing some certain stuff that he did. Like he's very shifty, run through tackles, all of that. But yeah, growing up, it was my dad just like turning on like short highlights of Barry Sanders.
Outside of Barry Sanders, who were some other running backs, maybe that you were able to watch, earlier in your life that you were like, okay, those are some other running backs that you really just liked?
I would say Marshawn Lynch. I watched him, running people.
Beast mode.
Yeah. But really not anybody else. Like growing up, I wasn't really too big of like a person who like watched football. I just kind of just played it. And like my dad would like turn on highlights for me here and there. And like, I'd be like, oh yeah, those are some great plays they're making. But I didn't really watch anybody other than like, Barry or Marshawn Lynch. Like those are probably the only two people that like highlights that like I would, like pull up on my own and just watch.
So you didn't watch a lot of NFL football growing up. You also didn't know how quick you would be when you were running track back in the day in high school. What really then drew you to football? And when did you start to maybe realize, okay, I got a certain skill set where not only maybe I could go have a decent college career, good college career, but maybe one day be in the NFL?
It was my dad. He put me in football when I was like 5, 6.
Love that.
And, he just kept, just pushing me to play the sport. And, I love football, and I always liked to, play. And I played a bunch of sports. I played basketball and ran track at Little League and all of that. But my dad, he pushed football on me, and I just fell in love with the sport. And I didn't really start thinking about college until, like my junior year of high school. Like up until then, like I was just playing football because I loved it. And, I just wanted to play with my friends and all that type of stuff. And college was something that I was introduced to my junior year when I was thinking about, going further with my football career. And that's when I started getting recruited by colleges, going to football camps and all of that. But, growing up, my dad was the one who pushed me to play. And, he just, got me to love the game of football.
I know it's Notre Dame. So, when I ask you, why did you go to Notre Dame? The answer pretty much explains itself. But what really drew you, Jeremiyah Love, to Notre Dame to make sure that you fell in love with the school and knew that it was the right decision?
My parents pushed Notre Dame from the very start. Whenever I first started getting recruited, my dad was like, "Have you heard from Notre Dame?" or stuff like that. At the time, they didn't. Coach McCullough wasn't. I don't think he was a running back coach at that time. So I had to wait a little bit for them to contact me. And once they got in touch, set up visits. And as soon as I came down for my first visit, it was like, school is really nice, small community, great academics. And my family loved the place too. So it was just kind of like a combination of all the things I wanted: great sports, great academics, nice people. The people were very welcoming. And the community was small. It's not a party school, nothing like that. So it kind of, gave me everything I wanted out of a college or a place to stay for the next 3 to 4 years.
And we know they produced some really impressive running backs. You got to see firsthand in your freshman season the hard work of Audric Estime. What did you really learn from being in that same meeting room and kind of locker room of one Audric Estime day in and day out last year?
I learned what it takes to, possibly get to the next level. Audric was a very hard worker. He came in every day. He got extra work every day. He came in, just, worked to the best of his ability, and he practiced really hard. And one of the things Audric, told me that I should really focus on doing was getting my weight up. And once my freshman season ended and spring started, that's what I was really focusing on. And it's helped greatly. But what I've took from Audric is that it's going to take a lot of work to get to the next level. And, seeing him come in and work every day, I got a pretty good picture of, what it's going to take for me to, get to the next level and then be successful at the next level as well.
You got your feet wet last year. Now it seems like you're really comfortable in this sophomore season. And not only did you put the work in the offseason off the field, but it's translating how it should be to on-field success. I know it's only 8 games into the season. The next 4 are massive. This team has college football playoff aspirations and then some. But I'm just wondering, so far, how do you evaluate your individual season with what you've been able to prove?
I feel like I've been doing pretty good this season. I don't really think, too high of myself. I mean, I'm doing pretty good, scoring touchdowns, doing what I'm supposed to do, doing anything to help the team win. And I feel like, I'm establishing myself as one of the best running backs in the country, possibly one of the best players in the country. I mean, I believe that, I'm the best of the best. And, as time goes on, people will see that. But, this season, it's been great. I feel like I've been doing pretty good, and I'm just going to keep rolling and, keep coming every week and trying to, prove to people who I am and show the world who I am.
I feel like you're just scratching that surface, and there's still more that you could do. You talk about being one of the best players in the country. When everything hits right for Jeremiyah Love, what does that football player look like at your best?
If everything's hitting right, I would say I'm easily a Heisman candidate. I mean, I feel like I've got everything it takes to, be recognized as, one of the best players, if not the best player in college football. And, as time goes on, I'm going to take advantage of those opportunities and going to prove to people who I am, who I say I am.
Jeremiyah Love with us. I got to ask you about the beginning of the season. So you guys made a big statement in a tough place to win up against A&M, and then we know what happened the week later up against NIU. Just wondering, that game, a lot of people thought it would derail the season, break the season. You guys haven't lost since. Why has that been? Why has that loss kind of made you guys dig deeper to then pull off what has been a 6-game winning streak since that loss?
That loss, it really helped us mentally. I would say throughout that game, I mean, I feel like, we were the more talented team. Like we have, better players, but like I believe that any team can win on any given day. Like if it doesn't matter who you are, if you're coming in and playing to the best of your ability, you may have a chance to win. And in that game, we just didn't play to our standard, and they play a A+ game for them. But as far as how we move forward after that loss, we just came in every week, not underestimating, any team we played against, and trying to, focus more on ourselves and not look on to the other team. Because, it all starts within. And if we make sure that we're playing to the best of our abilities and, playing to the Notre Dame standard, then I don't think there's anybody in the country that can beat us. I mean, we're just focusing on getting better every week. And I feel like that's really shown itself. Like, and you can look at all the positions all over the field and, look at the team as a whole, and you can really see how, we've grown as a team and, grown as like position groups throughout week after week. And, that loss really contributed to our, mental, and never underestimating, any team we play against, but, just focusing on ourselves and trying to, play to the Notre Dame standard, which we want to play to the Notre Dame standard.
And the neat part is, not only did you guys as players show that resiliency, but you really responded to the coaching from Marcus Freeman, the head honcho at Notre Dame. What do you want to say about your head football coach and Marcus Freeman and what he does for this football team?
First off, he's a great leader. He's a great person. He tries to, just get everybody to come together and to, strive to achieve team glory. That's something he says a lot, team glory. As long as we are, like focusing, blocking out the noise, and, just trying to get better every week, and, trusting our guys, like, will the team glory. But, Coach Free, like I say, he's a great person. Sometimes he doesn't even feel like he's the head coach. He's like such a down-to-earth person. But he is the leader of our program, and everybody on his team respects him. And, I look up to him, and, hopefully, we as players can continue to play to play up to the, Notre Dame standard, and, achieve an outcome that, this program hasn't, seen in a little while. So
last year, your quarterback was Sam Hartman. Another transfer in this year, it's Riley Leonard coming over from Duke. How has your relationship grown from the offseason to now, where you guys are sitting at 7-1 with your quarterback?
Riley's cool. As weeks go on, I get to know more about Riley, get to see more of him. And he's really grown, throughout this whole season. As we lost early on in the season, everybody, how the media gets, saying all types of bad stuff. But, Riley he's improved every single week, and he's continuing to show people, that he's Riley Leonard. Like, Riley's just been improving. My relationship with him, and, everybody's relationship with him, I believe, has, been growing for the better, week after week. And he just comes in every day and grinds, and everybody sees that. Everybody respects Riley. And,
Well, you guys could run the football pretty damn well together, and you complement each other nicely. I'm just curious, when you get into the huddle, and right, he's in command of the huddle, like, what type of quarterback do you think you have when you get on that battlefield and you go to battle with Riley Leonard as your QB?
Shoot, first off, I have a quarterback that I can trust, make the right reads, a quarterback that can really do it all. He can run, he can pass, make great, smart decisions. Going into the huddle, like, everybody has, utmost, faith in that Riley will, help this team, achieve team glory.
Well, enjoy the bye week. Appreciate learning more about you today and seeing your growth from last year to this year. And we appreciate you stopping on by for a few minutes.
Thank you.
There he is, Jeremiyah Love, joining us from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, are ranked 8th in the country, and they are 7-1, and they made Stu happy over the weekend, as Stu was like 3 rows off the field, right in the end zone. big seat for Stuart Kovacs. Primetime. It was awesome to see on social media. So appreciate Jeremiyah Love giving Stu something to smile about this weekend with the way that his Yankees are playing up against the Dodgers. But at least he gave Stu 2 touchdowns. And obviously, hey, you look at Notre Dame, 7-1 football team. We'll see what they'll do the rest of the way. So good chat there. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. It is a Monday. We got some questions. I'll give you some answers. We do onside, offside next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All right, it is onside, offside time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You could always interact with us on social media at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB, where you could find our poll question today on Twitter. Who has been the most disappointing team in the NFL? The Dolphins, the Jets, the Bengals, and the Cowboys. I'll give you my answer later. 4% right now say the Dolphins, 18.5% say the Bengals, 19.5% say the drama Dallas choking Cowboys, and an overwhelming majority, 58.1%, say the New York Jets. All righty, Stu, what's shaking? What do we got cooking today?
All right, well, the Colts, they dropped a close one to their division rival Texans, losing 23-20, and quarterback Anthony Richardson is in a bit of hot water. In the third quarter, Richardson missed a play after a long scramble and made a surprising admission about why he took himself out of the game.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there, what I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play, so I just, just told saying I just needed a break right there.
So, onsides, offsides, you're okay with Anthony Richardson taking himself out for a play because he was exhausted?
I feel bad for Anthony Richardson. I feel really bad for him. Because he's fighting the Hickey Hex. That's what he's fighting right now. This guy has no chance to actually succeed because Hickey was out on him, then his team drafted him, and then he was all in on him. And last week, Hickey said, I put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 no concern in the world, 10 all the concern in the world. Where's your concern about Anthony Richardson? And he said a 2. He thought it was like blasphemous that people were going after Anthony Richardson. And I said a few weeks ago, Anthony Richardson is a social media quarterback where there's like a few throws in the game where you're like jaw-dropping, unbelievable. This dude at one point in the game yesterday embodied what a social media quarterback was about. He was 2 of 13 at one point in the game for 81 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown accounted for 69 out of his 81 passing yards. The dude has some skill, obviously. The dude has some tools, but he can't put it together. It's like he gets one piece to work correctly a game, and the guy is never healthy. But I have never heard of a quarterback taking themselves out because they're too tired. Like, Lamar Jackson runs more than anybody. Josh Allen puts the team on his back each and every week. Do you see Lamar Jackson say, hey, John Harbaugh, bring in the backup. I need a breather. Do you see Josh Allen go, hey, Sean McDermott, I need a breather. Get me out of the game. That's ridiculous to me. Crazy. So you're okay with Richardson taking himself out of a play because he was exhausted? Not a franchise quarterback. I'm not okay with this. I'm livid about this. Offside.
Offside.
That is crazy. You know, when Hickey joins us on Wednesday, and he joins us for the weekly spot, do you think he's going to ask out for 2 minutes of the segment if he's a little bit tired when I continue to just whoop him in these conversations? That's what I wonder. I just wonder. You know, maybe I'll bring a nice big cup of water for Hickey in case if he gets out of breath on Wednesday. So it could be okay. But a disgrace. Even the Pat McAfee show, like McAfee's the biggest cult honk in the world, is even criticizing the quarterback today. Because I've never heard of a quarterback say, hey, I'm going to take myself out because I'm a little bit tired. And then I saw Shane Steichen. He didn't guarantee that you're going to see Anthony Richardson play up against the Vikings and start. You know, they're evaluating that. Team's better with Joe Flacco, let's be real. All right, next question.
All right, well, the Commanders beat the Bears on a final play Hail Mary, but fan video has now surfaced showing Bears defensive back Tyreek Stevenson taunting the Washington crowd. Even after the ball was snapped, Stevenson, who was one of the players who tipped the ball to Noah Brown, apologized after the game. Now today, Captain DJ Moore addressed it on 106.7 The Fan.
A few of the captains was talking about how we need to really address that, and I think that he put something out about how he was sorry, but we still got to address it as a leadership group and in front of the team.
There are people that have called in that want him benched. I just don't know that that's the answer.
I mean, you can do that, and then, I don't know. I mean, it's a lesson learned for sure. He won't do that again, but if you bench him, it's just like that one play is, I mean, it's a big play, but that one play don't define him as a player.
All right, that's 106.7 to score, by the way. Onsides, offsides, the Bears should bench Stevenson for the next game.
So I obviously saw the play like everyone saw the play. It was ridiculous. But then afterwards, that video emerges of Stevenson. And I'm like, that can't be real. Because like I'm programmed now that everything is edited. And it was real. And, you know, you got to do something. I don't know what is right. But yesterday is the exact reason why even when there are some positive moments, I know the end was a disaster. But when people start to get back in on Matt Eberflus, why this guy just can't be the head coach. You're a defensive-minded coach. You got no control of your team. Your team's sloppy. And you allow a corner to be chirping with the fans and mocking the fans before the game is over. That doesn't happen on an Andy Reid team. That doesn't happen on a Bill Belichick team. That doesn't happen on a John Harbaugh team, a Jim Harbaugh team, Sean McVay. That don't happen with the great coaches in this league. So, what can you do? Bare minimum, I wouldn't start him next week. I would bench him a quarter, maybe a half. But then it's like you're taking away from the team because he is a solid player. So I would bench him to start the game. I'd bench him for a half and then see if you could survive the half without him. But I wouldn't bench him for the entirety of the game. So I know that's a half-ass answer, but it's more benching. So yeah, you know what? You got to do something. You can't make him run like a bunch of gassers after practice. This isn't 1986. All right, so the Bears should bench Stevenson. Yeah, they should onsides.
Well, the Broncos beat the Panthers 28-14 on Sunday, holding the now 1-7 Panthers to just 285 total yards and extending the lead to 21 points just before the 2-minute warning. Now, after the game, Panthers DB J.C. Horn, who of course is the son of Joe Horn, who is a star under Sean Payton in New Orleans, he angrily confronted Payton for running up the score. Now, onsides, offsides, Sean Payton was wrong for running up the score.
No, he wasn't. And it may annoy you. You may not like it. But the game is played for 60 minutes. And even though I'm not a big Sean Payton fan, you have to change the culture of the Denver Broncos, and they're going up against an inferior football team. So J.C. Horn, who I like, and it's just a shame that he can't stay healthy, if you have a problem with it, well, how about you tell your team to stop it? Okay? This is not participation football. This is not flag football. This is not peewee football. This is not 8th grade football. This is the NFL. So don't do, you shouldn't be running up the score against us. So Sean Payton was wrong for running up the score. So I think this will be the first time this year I defend him. I will go offside.
Offside! Well, Patriots head coach Jerod Mayo got in some heat last week after calling his team soft. And some even said that Mayo could be one and done in New England. However,
that was stupid.
The team responded nicely with a surprising win over the disappointing Jets yesterday, and Mayo praised his team's mental toughness.
I thought the guys, again, showed the resilience that they've developed over the past few weeks. Really proud of the guys. There was a lot of noise and a lot of chatter, and I'm very appreciative of just their attitude and professionalism on an everyday basis. I thought it was good.
So onsides, offsides, Mayo's soft comments actually was a good motivator for the Patriots.
Can I give you a stat, which may be my favorite stat in NFL history, before I answer that question still?
Of course.
Dan Orlovsky tweeted us out. Scored 20-plus points, didn't turn it over, allowed fewer than 250 yards. In NFL history, teams are 750-1, including the playoffs, when generating that box score. The only loss, the Jets, yesterday.
Yikes.
So let me talk about my guy, Jeremiyah, my coach. I didn't like his soft comments. And here's why I didn't like his soft comments. I'm fine challenging your team, and I knew that's what he was doing. But you got to take some ownership for that as well, and I didn't think he did that in the excerpt that we heard. So Mayo's soft comments was actually a good motivator for this team. I will say on sides, because David Andrews last week said something along the lines when Bill used to give us crap, we'd used to say, hey, I'm going to prove him wrong. And the Patriots, even though the Jets are a disaster, even though the Patriots still can't block, even though they still can't catch, you could tell that was a more unified team. So I'm now looking back on it. I still don't take back what I said about how he should have said it, and he needed to take some ownership of the team being soft. But yeah, I do think it factored into the Patriots winning yesterday. Now, I'm not going to be stupid. The Jets also suck. And they could mess up a one-car funeral procession right now. But those comments clearly annoyed that locker room and galvanized that locker room a little bit. So yeah, I thought it was a good motivator for the team on sides. How do you like that, the Jets? Ooh, disaster. Something stinky here. It's the Jets. What do we got?
Tua returned for the Dolphins this week, and the offense woke back up with Tua under center. After averaging just 12 points a game in his 4-game absence, the offense put up 27 points with nearly 400 total yards. Tua led the NFL in yards last season and has finished top 5 in yards per game in each of the last 2 seasons. So onside, offsides, it's time to start considering Tua a top 7 NFL quarterback when he is healthy.
So I said this last week that I took back a take because last year I said Tyreek Hill is the Dolphins' most valuable player. After seeing Tua not on the field, I said it, even though I believe that still pound for pound Tyreek is their best player, Tua is their most valuable. You saw the Dolphins look like a competent offense once again. They still lost the game. But here's been my take about Tua. He's good. He's not great, but he's good in the NFL. Do I think he's a top 7 quarterback? No. I think he's like in that maybe at best 8, and I wouldn't put him at 8 right now, to 12. He's in that kind of grouping, 8 to 12, where I think he's closer to 12 than I would say 8. If you had to make me go one side or the other. But I think that guy is right like at like 11, sometimes infringing on 10. But I think he is closer to 12 than he would be as 8 when you look at the 8 to 12 range of quarterbacks. So when you ask me, is it time to start considering Tua a top 7 QB when healthy? He's like never healthy. So like that, it's tough to just say when healthy, but I would go offside. I still think there's 7 better quarterbacks in the league than Tua Tagovailoa.
Offside. All right, the Big 12 now has 4 teams in the top 25, including BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and new entry Colorado, with BYU and Iowa State both in the top 11 for the playoff seedings. Colorado and BYU don't face another ranked opponent all year, while Iowa State and K-State face each other in the final week. So onsides, offsides, the Big 12 will get at least 2 teams in the playoffs.
I'm going to say offside. The only way I think you get 2 Big 12 teams in is if, let's say, BYU is undefeated, let's just say. They're undefeated in the conference championship game, and then the Big 12 champion is not BYU, and BYU loses to whoever that Big 12 champion is, just using BYU for an example, because right now they're undefeated, then that's the way I could see 2 teams get in. But in all likelihood, I think that the winner of the Big 12 will have a loss attached to their resume, and whoever doesn't win the Big 12 will also have a loss attached to their resume, and I don't think that loss is going to come for the first time in the Big 12 championship game. So I would say that it's still likely that 1 team comes from the Big 12. So when you say they'll get at least 2 teams in the playoff, I will go offside.
Offside. Now, speaking of Colorado, Coach Prime has his Buffaloes bowl eligible at 6-2 with 4 games left. Now, today, ESPN's Stephen A. Smith said that Coach Prime should be the coach of the year in college football. So onsides, offsides, Coach Prime is the coach of the year right now.
Now, 2 things could be true. Coach Prime is a coach of the year candidate in college football. True. Stephen A. Smith, though, saying that you laugh at. True. I like Stephen A. Smith. I'm a pro Stephen A. Smith guy, let me be clear. But I was watching that segment live today, and you could tell Stephen A. Smith watches maybe 0 college football. Because also in that answer, in that diatribe, and Molly tried to save him towards the end of the show, he was talking about how Coach Prime should have been hired by Alabama or A&M. Well, DeBoer, I know they have 2 losses this year. He was in a national championship game last year at Washington. And Mike Elko is 7-1 right now at A&M. And this is coming, by the way, from someone, me, who advocated 2 years ago for Coach Prime to get the Auburn job. I wanted to see Coach Prime coach in the SEC. So when I hear Stephen A. Smith say that Alabama or A&M should have hired Coach Prime, I kind of laugh a little bit. We know why Stephen A. Smith is saying this, because Coach Prime should be a candidate, but Stephen A. Smith gets incredible access from Coach Prime, and they're friends. But the coach of the year right now through 8 games, and this could change, but through 8 games, is Curt Cignetti at Indiana. They're undefeated. So that's the coach of the year to me. Coach Prime is a candidate. If you made me vote right now, it would be Cignetti. So when you ask me, Coach Prime is the coach of the year right now in college football, offside.
Offside. All right, last one. Game 3 of the World Series is just a few hours away.
Here comes the Yankees.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Dodgers are up 2-0, and they got some good news that Shohei Ohtani is expected to play despite hurting his shoulder at the end of Game 2. Now, Aaron Judge, he is a pathetic 1 for 9.
I hear the disgust in your voice.
6 strikeouts in the series. He's hitting just 150 this postseason and has a career playoff average of just 199 with an OPS of just 740. Onsides, offsides. It's fair to call Aaron Judge a postseason choker.
What are your thoughts on this, Stu?
I think so. He's been terrible, and he's one of the best players, if not the best player in baseball during the regular season, and he's way below that in the postseason.
So I would say he's a postseason 0 right now. That's what I would say. It's like a choker. You got to make me believe that you're going to be great. Aaron Judge in the postseason, he's great in the regular season, but I don't believe he's going to be great in the postseason. And at the Game 1, I was on the fan in New York, and I'm like, that loss, I know everyone wants to bitch about Boone and the bullpen and all that, and trust me, there's things to complain about, but Aaron Judge, he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat right now. It's crazy. So I guess I lean on sides here. It's fair to call Aaron Judge a postseason choker, but the first word I thought of was a postseason 0. And it's a shame because he is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I have praised Aaron Judge all year long, but in the postseason, brutal. And the Dodgers could win when Ohtani isn't at his best. The Yankees cannot win, and don't tell me, oh, they beat the Royals, they beat the Guardians. It was a bye to the World Series. They can't beat a team like LA if Aaron Judge isn't the Aaron Judge that we all know he's capable of being. So I would go on sides on that. All right, good on sides, offside. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will get into the greatness that we saw on the football field yesterday between the Commanders and the Bears. Next, update time first. We'll send it over to the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by PXG. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/football and use code FOOTBALL. The World Series resumes tonight in New York with Game 3, and the Yankees in just about a must-win situation, down 2-0. They go with Clark Schmidt on the mound, who knew it wouldn't be easy.
We understand that you got to be able to compartmentalize games and move on, and we know that this is going to be a long series. It's not they obviously got the first punch in, but you know we got a long series to go, and we understood that this was going to be a tall task and not just come in here and expect to win every single game.
Walker Buehler starts for the Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is in the lineup in the leadoff spot despite a partially dislocated left shoulder. The final game of Week 8 of the NFL season features the Giants and Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Packers got good news today on Jordan Love. He has just a groin strain. He is considered day-to-day and could play next weekend. Bears left tackle Braxton Jones is week-to-week with a knee injury that isn't considered serious, and the 49ers are reportedly ready to open the practice window on Christian McCaffrey. The Patriots sent Josh Uche to the Chiefs for a 6th-round pick. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. What a crazy game between the Bears and the Commanders the other day. So the first chapter of Caleb Williams against Jayden Daniels. And when the Bears are at the goal line and they handed that ball off to that offensive lineman who was playing as a fullback, I couldn't believe it. I was like, why do the Bears try to get cute when you don't need to get cute? And even though they eventually got a stop, got the ball back, and then scored a touchdown, you just see why the Bears, once again, are a poorly coached team. How one of their corners, Stevenson, is yapping with the fans. With the fans. Before the game is over, and like Stu, it was bonkers to me. Like we all saw the Hail Mary, how Daniels didn't get taken down like 2 times was unreal. But then when he gets the ball off, and then it gets a fortuitous bounce and the Commanders catch it, it's one of those moments where even if you're not a Bears or a Commanders fan, where I was watching with 2 buddies, one's an Eagles fan, one's a Bills fan, I'm a Patriot fan, you're all like, oh my God, you couldn't believe it. It makes you jump off the couch. But then you see the videos. And by the way, I thought Romo was great in the play before the Hail Mary, pointing out you could still get some yards there. And then Nance had a great call. But when you see a player who is literally yapping with the fans, the ball is snapped, it's coming his way, and he's like, oh crap, I got to go try to make a play. You kind of get what you deserved. Like Karma is the guy on the Chiefs, right? What Taylor Swift says? Karma is the guy on the Bears. That's what I just saw right there. So, Stu, kind of take me through and relive your emotions, because I know Stu is always very emotional, very energetic. Stuart Kovacs is all the time. How did you kind of process that one between the Commanders and the Bears, and then when you saw afterwards the dopey defensive back who was yapping with the Commanders fans? It's just that to me, that's one of the biggest blunders in the history of the NFL that I've ever seen.
So I thought the game was over, so I turned it off. I did not see it live until I saw on Twitter.
It was the only thing going on, too.
The Raider game was ending, and we were getting ready for the Devils game. So we were trying to make a little switcheroo. So again, you think at that point the game's over. But I did see...
You know what, Stu? I'm actually proud that you admitted that. Because if you weren't a man, you could have just said, hey, I saw it.
It's a great play. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting on my couch, and no.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter that people were freaking out, so then they switched over, and then I saw the replay, I guess probably a minute after it happened.
Wow. You turned it off.
Turned it off.
It was crazy. And then how about when you saw Stevenson?
Yes, and then I guess maybe hour later, I saw the video. I was like, this can't be real. And then you just see him taunting the fan and then run over and tip it up. I'm like, of course. And of course, he was the one that tipped it up. He had to be someone that had an impact on the play.
I thought I was watching a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. I'm like, this is scripted. This isn't real. Like, I was expecting, Curb to play underneath it. Dun, 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 dun. That's what I was expecting. I thought, okay, just a really good Bears fan, wanted to provide a moment of levity, so they were able to quickly, edit the whole video and put him on the screen and have him doing that. And you know what the crazy part is? The Commander fan was beaten down for so many years. There was apathy with that fan base. They didn't even show up. They were so disgusted with who their POS owner was. To see that place rocking yesterday was so much fun. And I know this is a second-year player, young player in this league, but to have him be yapping it up with the Commanders fans, the first time the Commanders fans are actually back and rocking, it even makes it funnier. It does. Now, that's a miserable loss for the Bears. It is. But my takeaway is it just shows you why the Bears, even with the talent they have, and they could be a good team this year, they got to blow out this coaching staff at the end of the year. They do. You got Getsy with that dumb play call to the offensive lineman when you're getting cute when you don't need to be cute. And then you got Matt Eberflus having an undisciplined football team at the end of the game where one player, Stevenson, is more concerned about taunting the fans before the game is even over. That's on the coaching staff. It is a terrible coaching staff. And just when people finally start to get back in on this coaching staff, they show you why there is nothing that should be able to be happening this year that makes you believe at the end of the year that this is the best coaching staff that they could put together. There are better names out there. Now, I don't know if the Bears will pony up for some of the big names, but Belichick, Vrabel, it's like, how is Jim Harbaugh not coaching this team? They didn't make a run at Jim Harbaugh. There are better names out there. Now, go get Ben Johnson. I don't even know what he could be as head coach. He's a damn good offensive coordinator. There are better names out there. That's an undisciplined football team. But I will say this. I think something very big happened out of yesterday. Because I do think Caleb Williams is the right guy for the Bears. I am a believer in Caleb Williams. Not like all in, but I do believe in Caleb Williams. And I don't know if there's been a bigger fan in the national media of Jayden Daniels than me. I sat here for 2 months at the end of the season saying lose as the Pats because I'd rather have Jayden Daniels than Drake May. And I think Drake May is going to end up being good if the Patriots don't get him killed and they actually get him someone that could block and catch a football. You know, crazy stuff, but that's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for much, just for little things. But it's good that both those quarterbacks, Williams and Daniels, are in the NFC. Because you look at the quarterbacks in the NFC, like Jalen Hurts is good, I wouldn't call him elite. Dak Prescott, good, wouldn't call him elite. You look in the North, Love has potential to be elite, but he's got to show more of it. You know, he's a gunslinger right now, and he's had some health issues, as we saw yesterday. Goff is good, not elite. You know, you go through it, you know, Kirk Cousins, good, not elite. Brock Purdy, good, not elite. Stafford, good, not elite. You know, Kyler Murray, solid, not elite. I don't know if there's an elite quarterback in the NFC, if I'm being honest. So you get Jayden Daniels looking like he can be elite. Caleb Williams, when I think he gets better coaching, you'll see more very good / great Caleb compared to the up and down inconsistent Caleb Williams. But in the AFC, like, you got some great quarterbacks. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar Jackson. We go on and on and on. So with the signs that Williams and Daniels have displayed so far, it makes me encouraged that we can get a little bit more of a balanced playing field because a lot of the great quarterbacks are now in the AFC, and I don't know if there's a great quarterback in the NFC right now before you got to see Jayden Daniels step on the field. And he's still got more to prove. So when you have a crazy game like that play on out the way that it did, and even though it wasn't the most offensive game that we've ever seen, for it to end with that moment, pretty damn cool. You saw some of the optimism with the Bears, and then it became quickly misery as the Commanders snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. And that is a gut-wrenching, and I mean a gut-wrenching loss for the Bears. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you, Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we asked the poll question. We'll get into it next. Considering the expectations, who's the most disappointing team in the NFL this year? We'll get to that when we're back in 5.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Yo, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, hour number 3 of our radio program. Lots going on in the sports world. Fun weekend, not the best weekend, but a fun weekend of college football. Another massive weekend in the NFL. You got the World Series. I'll be going to the big ballpark in the Bronx tonight for a little Game 3. So you can follow me on my socials, Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. And we'll give you a little behind-the-scenes action at the World Series. This is a must-win for the Yankees tonight, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb. They're down 2-0 to the Dodgers. If they're going to win this series, quite frankly, I think the Yankees have to win all 3 in New York. I think they'll take 2 out of 3 in New York. And I will stand by my original prediction of the Dodgers in 6. So that's kind of the lay of the land in the sports world right now. So it is a Monday. I know people are trying to feel positive on a Monday, but we're going to go the opposite way. We just are. And I'm going to ask a simple question. And I really think the answer is between 2 teams. Considering the expectations, so no, the Carolina Panthers being trashed don't apply here. Like the Patriots, I know they won yesterday, but, if you were going to say the Patriots, this doesn't apply because no one thought the Patriots were going to be any good. I'm talking about teams that people thought could be good this year or had expectations for this year. Who has been the most disappointing team in the NFL? And really, you were going to be in the mix in this one, depending on what the outcome was going to be of that Cowboys-49ers game. And I walk away from that Cowboys-49ers game where the Cowboys are up 10-3, then they allowed 24 unanswered. The Niners, I thought, were about to have another gem under Kyle Shanahan where they were going to choke another game away. Like an NFC championship game that they did up against the Rams, the 2 Super Bowls, obviously, that they had with Kyle as the head honcho of the Niners. Kyle Shanahan was also the OC for the Atlanta Falcons. And we saw this year them choke some games away, too. I thought we were on the verge of that. And what's so sad, Stu? I'm sitting there, when you get to late into the Sunday night game, after watching all the football in the 1 o'clock window and the 4 o'clock window, sometimes when the Sunday night game's on, it's like, oh, this is football? And it's just like all blends together. And you're like still looking at the screen, but you're like, wow, I've looked at the screen for so long. And you really need like a moment to get you invested. Like you need a good game. And the Cowboys gave a little punch out of the gate, but then the Niners looked like they just delivered a knockout punch and that game was over. And then out of nowhere, the Cowboys make this a game. It's a 6-point game. And it makes you like, okay, let me no longer be a couch potato. Let me sit up. Let me get on the edge of the cushion. And let me get really invested. And when Dak Prescott, on the first damn play, threw a ball that should have been intercepted, I don't know how Fred Warner didn't pick it off. I'm like, come on. Why did I think that Dak Prescott was actually going to go do something in this spot? And then we know after that, the Cowboys did absolutely nothing. But that's such, you know what that is? That's the Cowboys against the Ravens. It really is. Where you're getting smacked around by the Ravens, you get yourself back in the game, and you maybe say, okay, maybe the Cowboys could be on the right side of this, and then, and you know what? My picks haven't been bad this year. I think I'm like a game over 500. I'm right at 500. Would you take that? But let me tell you, the last 2 weeks, I need to apologize. I didn't put the Cowboys in my pick'em, for the picks this week against the spread. But I thought the Cowboys were going to beat the Niners. And I never think the Cowboys are going to beat the Niners. And then last week, I thought the Niners were going to beat the Chiefs. Okay? So those last 2 weeks, I believe that the Niners could beat the Chiefs. Shame on me. And I believe the Cowboys, even with all the 49ers injuries, could beat the 49ers. Shame on me. And that's Zach Gelb, who calls them the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And even I thought the Cowboys could win this week. And I said in the offseason the Cowboys were going to miss the playoffs. If they make the playoffs this year, I'll be stunned. And the culture now of the Cowboys is just creating headlines and not actually winning. And not winning when it matters the most. But whoever was going to come out as the loser of that Cowboys-49ers game, they would have been on this poll question. Who has been the most disappointing team in the NFL? Because the Niners would have lost. They would have been, they're sitting there at 3-5. Yikes, what happened? So, here we go. The 4 choices. Dolphins, Jets, Bengals, and Cowboys. I will go through these answers. It can't be the Dolphins. And I know the Dolphins are going to miss the playoffs. And Miami's sitting there. And even yesterday when they get Tua back and the offense functions again, they don't get the win. They lose to the Cardinals. But the Dolphins are 2-5. And Tua has his limitations. The Dolphins as a team have limitations. I think the Dolphins are kind of, just a team that they make the playoffs. They can't make the playoffs, and you expect nothing out of them in the postseason. If they win a playoff game, throw a parade because it's like great for the Miami Dolphins. And I had the Dolphins slightly missing the playoffs this year not because I thought they were some trash football team. It's because of two things. Number one, I thought the AFC was loaded, and there was going to be some teams with 9 or 10 wins that would miss the postseason, and that the Dolphins would be one of them. And number two, it's like last year I said Tua was going to get through the season healthy, and I hate predicting injuries. I do. And it's so tough to do, and you really can't do it. But last year I said when everyone thought Tua wasn't going to get through the season, that's the year that he gets through the season. But then I reiterated this offseason, not predicting that an injury would occur, but just because he got through one season, it doesn't mean the injury concerns just wash away. Like with one concussion, as we've seen, they could pop right back up. But at 2-5, because of the fact that Tua missed, 4 games, it's tough for me to say that the Dolphins are the most disappointing team. That's the key word. Disappointing team in the NFL. So I will cross the Dolphins off this list. And that leaves me with these 3 teams. Jets, Bengals, Cowboys. So depending on where you're at with the Cowboys, I think factors into the way that you answer this question. I don't look at the Cowboys as being disappointing this year. I look at the Cowboys as how a football team should look like when you got a lame duck coach, you had a quarterback that all of season long you know was just good and you made him fight for his contract when you knew you were going to pay him anyway. You had an owner who is clearly way past his prime. He hasn't been to a Super Bowl since 1995 or an NFC Championship game since 1995. And he runs an operation that's about headlines, not wins. He runs an operation where you never expect them to actually win a big game. I'm not talking about yesterday. I'm talking about games in the postseason. So it's like, I look at the Cowboys. There was a lot of drama this offseason. They said they were all in. They weren't great last year. They weren't all in. They didn't get better. The Cowboys regressed this past offseason. So considering the expectation, and my expectation was the Cowboys would miss the playoffs, for them to look like a team that's trending towards missing the playoffs, I'm not going to sit here and say the most disappointing team in the NFL. So this is where the answer gets tricky. Is it the Jets or the Bengals? Because the Bengals are viewed higher than the New York Jets. The Bengals, the last few years, have been the only team, really, that we legitimately have confidence in when you play the Kansas City Chiefs to be the team that prevents the Kansas City Chiefs from winning it all. And Cincinnati's at 3-5. And I think I'm one of the few in the national media who have accurately discussed the Cincinnati Bengals this year. Because it drives me bonkers. As Emmitt Smith would say, it makes me hot when he joined us in studio. When people still try to tell you that the Bengals are a Super Bowl contender. Can they get to 500 first before we declare that the Bengals are back? And the Bengals, even in their 3 wins, they come against lousy football teams. So this idea that the Bengals this year are this great football team when they've defeated the Panthers, the Browns, and the Giants, and it wasn't like they had these pretty victories up against either of those teams, it's almost like embarrassing. And you're telling me who the Bengals are based off of who they've been in the past, not who they are this year in the year of 2024. And yesterday, in a game that was a toss-up, in a game that was even, right? Eagles and Bengals going in, a lot of questions about those teams. A lot of teams with talent that aren't meeting where they're supposed to be. For that game at halftime to be tied up at 10 apiece, and then for it to end 37-17, I don't want to hear anyone tell me Cincinnati could do this, Cincinnati could do that, Cincinnati could do this, Cincinnati could do that for this year. Because here's my question. What are you basing it off of? But Zach, they always start off slow. Zach, this is what they do. They're 3-5. This is not starting off the year 0-2 or 1-2 or 1-3. They're 3-5. You are what your record says you are. Now, maybe they could go on a run and make the playoffs, but if you want to say that, what is it based off of? What is it rooted in? It's not rooted in any substance. It's not rooted in anything you could tangibly latch onto other than, oh, well, they did it in the past. And we've seen teams get off the crappy starts and then be standing there in the postseason at the end of the year. But no one has really said this about Cincinnati. Because the thing that we praise them about the most is their Week 2 loss to Kansas City. This defense stinks. The offense, even when they play great, and they didn't play great yesterday, they go score 5 touchdowns against the Ravens, and it's not enough. So stop telling me what the Bengals can do. And how about Cincinnati shows me what they will do moving forward? But even with that being said, I can't say the Bengals are the most disappointing team in the NFL. And here was the difference for me. Because I had a higher expectation for the Bengals than the Jets this year. I thought the Bengals were one of the teams that were on my short list that could win the Super Bowl. The Jets were a Super Bowl contender, but I never viewed them as a team that was going to get to the Super Bowl. I thought of everything, if every little thing, if every T was crossed, if every I was dotted, the best the Jets could do this year was get to an AFC championship game. But here's why I go the Jets are more disappointing than the Bengals. The Jets are just more obnoxious. Like, I know it's not the greatest analysis in the world. The Bengals don't annoy me. The Bengals lose. It's more the discourse around the Bengals from people in the media. It's not the Bengals themselves. Like, sure, Jamar Chase could say a stupid thing here from time to time. But the Jets walk around like they are this great team. The defensive players think they're the early 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears, the Steel Curtain Steelers, the LOB Seahawks. They think they're a great defense. You just allowed a team that can't block, can't catch, and had a backup quarterback walk right down the field with the game on the line and go get a victory. I'm a Patriot fan saying that. Don't give me this all-time great defense nonsense. This defense is fine. It's good, maybe if you squint really hard. Sauce Gardner overrated. And I hate to say that, but he is. He stunk this year. He has been terrible. You know, the Jets walk around like they are this god football team, when the organization, outside of like 3 or 4 years, has been one of the biggest jokes in NFL history. So the defense is a joke. Offensively, Aaron Rodgers, I'll play you the audio again for the third time in just a second. But how Aaron Rodgers handled that loss yesterday, with an offensive line, I get it, it's not great. You can't get on the same page with Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall's too inconsistent. You trade for Devontae Adams, he gets locked up by Christian Gonzalez. Hey, Sauce Gardner, that is a real great cornerback, Christian Gonzalez. Maybe you should take some notes from the youngster. But Aaron Rodgers yesterday just comes off as a douche. Okay, there's no other way to say it. So he gets Robert Saleh fired. I get it. Robert Saleh deserved to get fired after the Buffalo game. They didn't give him the Buffalo game, but you can't defend the record of Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh shouldn't be this team's coach. But the only reason he was the team's coach because Aaron Rodgers could do whatever he wanted, and Rodgers knew he was a doormat. Then Rodgers finally gets some pushback from Saleh, and Saleh's fired within 2 weeks. So Ulbrich takes over. There's no emotional uplift after you get a coach fired. Usually that's like a point that galvanizes a locker room. And you at least win one game. Right? One game. You may lose all the rest of them, but at least you win one game. And Jeff Ulbrich says something along the lines of, hey, like, we're really in the darkness now. Everyone's going to be against us. People are going to be crushing us. And it's a pretty innocuous comment. Like, that wasn't Jeff Ulbrich trying to be witty, trying to be funny, poke fun at the Rodgers situation with the darkness retreat. But this jackass, I'm sorry, he's just a jackass. And Aaron Rodgers gets to the podium. And when you are 2-6, you've lost 5 in a row. You have the audacity, because you're in love with yourself, you're smug, and you never think you know what stinks, to poke fun at the darkness comment and tie it to your experience of seeing the darkness on your darkness retreat? Are you effing kidding me? Listen up, here's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I've been in the darkness. You got to go in there, make peace with it. Offensively, our goal has just got to be score 30. Doesn't matter what the other two sides are doing. You know, we have trust in our defense and teams, but if we're not scoring 30, we're underachieving. This offense can do that every single week.
He just doesn't care. He doesn't. I'm sorry, folks. He doesn't care. And that's, to me, why the Jets are more disappointing and the most disappointing team in the NFL than the Bengals. It's one thing to have a disappointing season. It's one thing to not meet expectations. But you actually got to appear like you care and you want to turn it around. The Bengals try to turn it around. The Jets, they just try to put lipstick on a pig. We'll fire the coach. We'll trade for Devontae Adams. But when your quarterback has a loser mentality and he's one of the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time, I get it. For all you people that slobber over Rodgers and never criticize him for 1 second, he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. You happy? I just gave you your binky. I put it in the mouth. Now shut up, all right? Enough. You got your little binky. We'll make you some. We'll get you some warm milk. We'll get you some cookies, and we'll pat you on the cabeza. Good job, little Johnny. All right. So all you Rodgers defenders, shut up for a second. But Aaron Rodgers there just does not give a rat's ass. He doesn't give a flying bleep that the Jets are 2-6 and that they're on a 5-game losing streak. So when you don't care when you lose, and at least when you have a little fight when you lose and show like you care, that's the difference maker for me on why the Jets are the most disappointing team in the NFL. So let me give you the results on this poll question, which you can find at Zach Gelb on Twitter, at INF Sportsnet as well. Who has been the most disappointing team in the NFL? 58.6% say the New York Jets. 18.2% say the Bengals. 19.2% say the Cowboys. The Cowboys are actually in second. And then 3.9% say the Miami Dolphins. Stupak Jr., what do you got? Who's the most disappointing team?
So I actually really disagree with those results. I definitely wouldn't put the Dolphins on there just because of the quarterback getting hurt. Like, I think a team like the Jaguars, to me, are more disappointing because people had them in the playoffs, and they've just been a train wreck.
So I actually thought about putting the Jaguars on this list. They were the fifth team. I only get 4 options in the Twitter poll. The reason why I didn't put the Jaguars on is this. I had the view that the Jaguars are going to make the playoffs. I don't know if a lot of people had that view nationally. I think a lot of people, deservedly so now, were critical of Trevor Lawrence and just didn't believe in Doug Peterson. But is the Jaguars your answer?
No, they're not. I just think they should be in the mix.
If you were doing the poll, you would say Dolphins, Tua got hurt, cross them off, put the Jaguars in there. That's fair.
Yeah. So the Cowboys and Jets, I thought both those teams are kind of overrated going into the season. I thought they were like 9-win teams. Maybe the Jets, they'd win 10 and miss the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The Bengals, for me, I thought were the Chiefs' biggest competition. Probably, if it wasn't for the Chiefs, I would have picked them to win the Super Bowl. Gotcha. I thought they, just had such a good roster, and the fact that they are only a 3-win team, to me, they're the most disappointing. I would say they're number one, followed by the Jets, too.
No, it's definitely fair, and it's hard to argue. It really is. I was splitting hair with the Bengals and the Jets, so I ended up going with the Jets. But no, it's a good response out of Stu, going with the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come on back. No huddle offense in 5.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Touchdowns, sacks, upsets, and last-minute heroics. Another NFL Sunday is in the books, and we've got you covered with the biggest plays and sound bites from another wild week in the National Football League. It's time for No Huddle Offense on the Zach Gelb Show.
We saw the San Francisco 49ers score 21 points in the third quarter. They take care of the 49ers they take care of the Cowboys 30-24, the 49ers that is. And in the contest on National Tight Ends Day, Mr. Kittle had 6 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel had 4 for 71 in this game, and Brock Purdy bounced back 260 yards, a passing touchdown, 56 yards, and a rushing touchdown as well. Dak Prescott up and down in this one, 243 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, should have had 3 towards the end of the game, and CeeDee Lamb did wake up late, 13 catches for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's listen up, though. Brock Purdy on National Tight Ends Day found his guy, George Kittle, for the 2-yard score to make it 20-10, San Francisco.
Brock looking right, going to throw wide open. George Kittle, a flag is down. They're going to get a pick play on Conley.
Yes, they are.
Wow.
Yeah, he was trying to run around and got pushed into him.
No foul. Touchdown! George Kittle!
That's great on the San Francisco 49ers radio network. I'm not going to lie. When I saw that, I was like, okay, it's going to get called back. And then I went to go throw out my trash, which is right across, my apartment, the trash room. So I took the trash bag, I threw it back, and I came back, and I'm like, oh, Kittle scored again? And then I ended up seeing that the flag was actually picked up. It wasn't like Stu, who just turned off the game for Commanders and Bears and missed the Hail Mary. But the 49ers, by the way, Stu, as a team, 36 carries on the ground, no Christian McCaffrey once again, 223 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and that leads you to our question today.
Yeah, so do you think that the success of so many running backs with the 49ers devalues McCaffrey at all?
So you need a rushing attack in this league. You don't need a bell cow back. McCaffrey does so much more than just running the football. It's also how he catches the ball out of the backfield. He is one of the more lethal non-quarterbacks in this league. So when you ask me, does the success of so many running backs in San Francisco devalue McCaffrey? It does a little bit, but you still need McCaffrey in order to win a Super Bowl. All right, let's head to a dump of a stadium, FedEx Field, I think that's what they still call it, in Landover, Maryland. This place is absolutely a dump, but for years, it's been a dump that nobody would attend. And that's one of the proud fan bases that used to be in the NFL. Now those fans have come on back. Daniel Snyder out, Josh Harris in, and oh yeah, by the way, they got a quarterback in Jayden Daniels. It looked like the Commanders were going to lose this game. It looked like the Commanders were going to pick up their 3rd loss of the season. But then, against all odds, and after avoiding a few tackles, and then you had Stevenson chirping the fans on the Bears, and they realized, oh, here comes a Hail Mary. I got to go make a play. This unbelievable play happened. And actually something rich happened. Something great happened in that dump of a stadium in Landover, Maryland. Listen up.
Daniels backing up, now steps up, fires, heads towards the end zone. It is...
Talk about a ball goal. That's like a grand slam in the 9th inning of a World Series. Yes, go, baby. The ball popped up into the air, right into the arms of Noah Brown. Jayden Daniels extended the play over and over and over.
Awesome.
Walk-off touchdown.
Who is going to be that old curmudgeon broadcaster who's an asshat that goes, oh, you barely know what's going on? You know, can you tell the color analyst to shut up for a second? You know, who's going to be that dope? You know someone will be out there. That's one of the all-time great calls. That is awesome. And it sounds like you're just listening to a bunch of guys that were in a living room just jumping up and down after that crazy play happens. That was great. I saw Linnell Willingham and Toby down in D.C. They do a post-game show on the radio for the team in 106.7 The Fan. So they were watching that game, obviously, and the cameras are rolling. And they, the entire time, they're like, they're going to do a Hail Mary. Why do they do a Hail Mary? You got to run. You got to do hook and ladder and all that stuff. And then when the ball was caught, Toby's losing his mind. Linnell hits the floor. I don't even know if he stood back up. That clip was rolling for 2 minutes. I never saw him actually get back up. That's how delirious and how crazy he was going. So the stats from this one, Caleb Williams, he had 131 passing yards in the game, 41 rushing yards. At one point, when they were through 3 quarters, only had 36 passing yards. DeAndre Swift had 129 rushing yards and a touchdown. It was a 56-yard rushing touchdown. Roma Dunze only 3 catches, 41 yards. Keenan Allen, 2 for 39. DJ Moore, 2 for 27. And then the Jayden Daniels show continues to roll, 21 to 38 for 326 passing yards and a touchdown. And then also in this one, Jayden Daniels, even though he only had 52 rushing yards in the game, which is a nice performance for Jayden Daniels. We saw the Commanders go 32 carries for 168 rushing yards. Stu, Commanders win 18-15. What's the question here?
Yeah, you talked about the Caleb Williams stat line. What have you made of his extreme up and down play so far this season?
I just think it's really a product of a rookie quarterback. Not everyone's going to be C.J. Stroud. Not everyone's going to be Jayden Daniels. I know it doesn't make it look great, but you could see the signs that the guy's going to be a really good quarterback. I think the coaching is bad. Like, you don't need the stats to be awesome. And I know they survived, and he showed some toughness late after they just had a boneheaded decision to hand the ball off to an offensive lineman. They ended up getting the ball back, and they punched the ball in the end zone with 25 seconds left. It's like, you can't win that game when your quarterback doesn't play his best, and he still puts you in position to go win the game. To me, there's so many more things that I point out to yesterday than Caleb Williams up against a veteran defensive-minded head coach in Dan Quinn not playing great. Like, they should have won the game. Period, stop. So there's going to be some good, there's going to be some bad with Caleb Williams, but I'm not freaking out over it with what I've seen so far. All right, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Let's hear Jameis Winston, 38-yard go-ahead touchdown pass to Cedric Tillman.
Jameis to throw. Jameis is on. Jameis going deep. Has Tillman. End zone. Touchdown Browns! What a throw by Jameis Winston. Over 300 yards. Tillman, the first 100-yard game of his career.
And how about that performance by Jameis Winston? 334 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Pretty much rest in peace to the career of Deshaun Watson, ever starting again in the NFL. Derrick Henry, 11 carries, 472 yards. He's on pace for 2,010 yards. Lamar Jackson, 289 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, had 46 rushing yards in the game and 19 total touchdowns, had 2 interceptions on the season. But the Brownies take care of the Ravens, 29-24. Browns now 2-6, Ravens 5-3. Stu?
So can Jameis Winston, can he still be a full-time starting quarterback in the NFL?
No, I think he's a backup quarterback where if you need him to start after a quarterback gets hurt, he could be competent. He protected the football yesterday, which is a good thing to see. Can he go start for a team, I guess, for a year or two? It's possible, but am I going to think that team's going to be any good? That's a different question. But I don't think he's a full-time starting quarterback. All right, let's head to Atlanta up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We knew going into this one a few weeks back, the Falcons already defeated the Bucs. So if the Falcons got another win, that pretty much makes them not only in the driver's seat, but feeling like they're definitely going to win that NFC South. We know the Panthers are no good. We know the Saints are no good. Tampa falls to 4-4. Falcons improved to 5-3. But remember, they now have 2 victories over the Buccaneers. Falcons win 31-26. Kirk Cousins, you like that. 4 passing touchdowns in the game. Had 276 passing yards in this one. He has 785 yards, 8 touchdowns, and a pick in 2 games versus Tampa Bay this year. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 92. Kyle Pitts, 4 for 91 and 2 touchdowns. And by the way, in this game, I think it was his second touchdown. I thought for sure he fumbled the ball before the ball crossed the plane. But they ended up ruling it and out in further review called it a touchdown. And then Baker Mayfield with no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. He leads the NFL in passing yards and touchdowns in his third in completion percentage. He had 330 passing yards yesterday, 3 touchdowns and 2 picks. But Stu, let's hear Kirk Cousins fire off a 30-yard touchdown pass to Darnell Mooney. This made it Falcons 21, Bucs 14.
Tied at 14 with 2:19 to play in the first half. Cousins in the gun. 3 to the right, 1 to the left. Here's Kirk from the pocket. Throws. Mooney caught. Touchdown Atlanta. Darnell Mooney again. Just continues to terrorize Tampa.
Stu, what do we got cooking here on the question?
Yeah, you talked about Baker Mayfield and what he did without his top 2 wide receivers. Is he underappreciated, you think, as a quarterback?
Yeah, I do. Baker was run out of Cleveland. Now, I understand why they did it at the time. But once what transpired in Carolina, you thought that was the end of the road for him. He then took Tampa Bay to the playoffs last year and had them win a playoff game in their first year without Tom Brady. And then this year, they're in the playoff mix, but he's still playing well with Evans and Godwin, right, not being at 100%, and now Godwin out for the year and Evans going to be out for more than a few weeks. I think Baker is a top 15 quarterback in the league. I think Baker is a good quarterback. I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback, but you could do a whole lot worse than Baker Mayfield. And you know what he has? He's guts. He's determination. He is and he cares. Like, you know what? I'll say this. I think the Jets would win more games this year with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers playing on one leg. He's cooked. Aaron Rodgers, is way past his prime. Retirement is right in front of him. And Aaron Rodgers just doesn't give a bleep anymore. That response yesterday after the game was pathetic. It was embarrassing. And it was just a terrible look for Aaron Rodgers. I'd much rather this year have a guy like Baker Mayfield than Aaron Rodgers. Younger, more upside now. And even though Baker Mayfield, for his career totality, can't hold Aaron Rodgers, you know what? In the year of 2024, he's the better quarterback, and he actually plays with heart, something Aaron Rodgers no longer does. So, yeah, I do think Baker Mayfield is an underappreciated QB. And finally, Bills and Seahawks. This may have been one of the most impressive performances of the day. I liked the Bills laying the 3. I thought they'd win the game by like 7 or 10, but I didn't think this would just be an ass kicking. And even though Amari Cooper did nothing statistically, you see how he opens up the offense because they have to pay attention to Amari Cooper. James Cook's a good running back. Keon Coleman's finding his groove. Dalton Kincaid found the end zone. Everyone found the end zone if you were a tight end yesterday, National Tight Ends Day. And the Bills win 31-10. They walk into Seattle and they just smoke the Seahawks. Let's listen up. This is Josh Allen, a 12-yard touchdown pass to the man that I just mentioned, Dalton Kincaid, and made it 14-3 Buffalo.
Allen takes the snap. Looking downfield, steps up in the pocket, throws, has Kincaid lunging into the end zone for the touchdown. It's a 12-yard touchdown reception for the tight end Kincaid. And Buffalo is now up by 10 with an extra point pending.
And that is a Josh Allen vintage touchdown.
And a lot of numbers from this one. Josh Allen, 283 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, finally threw his first pick of the season. Also had 25 rushing yards. James Cook, awesome in this one. 17 for $111, 2 touchdowns. It's his first game of over 82 yards this year, which is surprising because it feels like he's been playing a lot better than that. Khalil Shakir, 9 for 107. Keon Coleman, 5 for 70 and a score. Geno Smith, only 212 passing yards, no touchdowns and a pick. He has 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions on the season. And how about this Buffalo defense? I know it's easy when you're blowing out a team, but they only allowed 17 carries in this game for 32 yards and 1 rushing touchdown, which was Zach Charbonnet, this was his stat line. 3 carries for 4 yards and a touchdown. Yikes. All righty, Stu, give me the question here and take us home on this one.
All right, what's your confidence level that the Bills can finally take out the Chiefs when it matters?
I picked the Buffalo Bills this year to win the AFC East. After the first few weeks of the season, I thought the Bills were the best team in the league. Then they had a bad performance against the Ravens, a bad performance against the Texans. I think the Bills are trending in the right direction. Kansas City, they haven't even been playing at their best, and they're still better than all the rest. I think the conversation is Kansas City, teams that could beat them in the AFC. It's still the Ravens. And even though they lost yesterday, and then it's the Bills. They got a shot. I'm not going to tell you that I feel great, but they got a shot. The team that I'm most confident in actually this year to beat Kansas City would be the Detroit Lions. I'm feeling really good about the Lions. I like the mentality of the Lions. It reminds me a lot like the mentality Doug Peterson had in Philadelphia. A little bit more energy and macho man bravado from Dan Campbell. But it reminds me a lot like that Eagles team that won the franchise its first ever Lombardi trophy. But I think the Bills got a shot. I'm not going to say I'm, exploding with confidence and think oh, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. They got a chance. So you're telling me there's a chance. All right, that's No Huddle Offense. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, Eagles impressed yesterday. Where's my confidence in Nick Sirianni? We'll also get into this Monday Night Football game tonight between the Giants and the Steelers. Stinky, I know. Update time. Here's someone that isn't stinky. The Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
That's something good to know. This report is brought to you by PXG. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/football. Use code football. The World Series is in New York for tonight's Game 3. The Dodgers up 2-0, halfway to their 8th title. And so far they have done it with remarkable resiliency. L.A. already has lost most of its pitching staff. Freddie Freeman has played on a bad ankle. And now Shohei Ohtani is battling a partially dislocated shoulder, but is in his customary leadoff spot tonight as the designated hitter. Walker Buehler starts against Clark Schmidt. The final game of Week 8 of the NFL season features the Giants and Steelers in Pittsburgh. New York has scored 10 points in the last 2 games, dropping both. The Steelers are 5-2, a half game in front of the Ravens in the AFC North. Packers quarterback Jordan Love is day-to-day with a groin injury and could play next weekend, while the Bears' Braxton Jones could miss a game. The left tackle considered week-to-week with a knee injury that is not considered serious. And the defending champs bolstered their pass rush today, acquiring Josh Uche from the Patriots for a 6th-round pick in 2026. I'm Rich Eckert.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
We have breaking news we will get to in a second. But first, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And our question today comes from Drunkle Sam in the YouTube chat. This is a funny one. Does each update person write their own copy? I'll give you the answer in just a second. It's a big question. You could submit a question by tweeting at INSSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Guarantee low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Yeah, of course. What do you think? They just sit down and they just read whatever? Ack writes his own script. When Pat Boyle, is in there, he writes his own script. Manny Rodriguez writes his own script. Andrew Bogish writes his own script. But Marco Belletti, I don't actually think he writes a script. I think he just has things that he's going to talk about, and he knows what the audio is, but I don't think he physically writes out a script, if memory serves me right. But yes, 99.9% of them write their own scripts. Marco just doesn't follow a script because Marco never follows a script in life, I think. Anyway. We have breaking news. Hit the sounder.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
She who shall not be named, but we'll name her anyway. Congratulations. Gisele Bündchen is pregnant with the child from her relationship with the jiu-jitsu instructor. The man that she was maybe doing more than just jiu-jitsu with, obviously, when Tom Brady was still married to her. And then they were dating. I remember reading they broke up because he couldn't handle the public spotlight. So I don't know if they're still together, but according to TMZ, the 44-year-old supermodel is pregnant, and the couple, or whatever we're calling this relationship, is waiting until birth to find out the baby's sex. Oh, boy. This is a juicy, juicy, juicy item. Gisele Bündchen, after having 2 kids with Tom Brady, after having a long marriage with Tom Brady, they broke up and got divorced in Tom Brady's final season in the NFL, which was, 2 years ago? Because he was out all last year, and then obviously this year is now with Fox. Yeah, Gisele. Already pregnant with the jiu-jitsu instructor. So I don't know, just because, hey, Brady had a child out of wedlock. Just because you're having a baby doesn't mean that they are a couple. But I thought they broke up. I guess, maybe they're back together. Who knows? I don't know how many months pregnant Gisele is, but that's the breaking news. You think Kevin Burkhardt, by the way, Stu, whatever the national, I think they're at for Detroit Green Bay this weekend. I could be wrong on that.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But do you think that Kevin Burkhardt in the introduction goes, hey, by the way, Tom, before we break down this matchup between Jordan Love and Jared Goff, and we get your thoughts on a little Packers and Lions, any comment on your former wife, your ex-wife, Gisele Bündchen, supposedly pregnant? Well, how do you break that down, Tom? This is why we're paying you $375 million.
That would be great. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen.
0 chance.
Negative 20% chance.
This is going to sound like a slap to Kevin Burkhardt, which it doesn't mean to be because I love Kevin Burkhardt. he doesn't got the stones to ask that question. Quite frankly, I don't have the stones to ask that question. But that's very interesting. And Jim Gray is not going to ask him that question, that's for sure. As Jim Gray just sucks off the teat of the Tom Brady cow all the time. All righty. Let me get to the Eagles yesterday real quickly. I was very impressed by them. And I don't believe in Nick Sirianni. I had some bozo on Twitter yesterday, which, tell me another day that ends in Y. Go, why are you so critical of Nick Sirianni? They won a bunch of games in a row. Yeah, we got to praise him for the Browns. We got to praise him for the Giants. Yesterday was the best the Eagles have looked. I will give them that. But my point about Sirianni is I don't think you win a Super Bowl with him. And the Eagles have Super Bowl aspirations this year. So no, just beating the Bengals is a step in the right direction. It's a heck of a win. It's their best win of the season. And maybe that Devontae Smith catch in the end zone by Jalen Hurts on the throw, maybe it changes that season around and turns it around. But I still don't believe that Sirianni wins a Super Bowl this year. But it was a heck of a performance yesterday. All right, we'll get to the game tonight. The only reason you want to watch is just see how Russell Wilson performs. Does anyone think the Giants are going to win this game? Who knows after yesterday in the NFL? But I don't. But it seems like even though the Justin Fields experiment led to a bunch of wins, he wasn't playing great. It seems as long as the Steelers win with Russell Wilson, he's going to continue to be the guy in Pittsburgh. So, we'll keep an eye, I guess, on that one tonight. But really, outside of the Russell Wilson stuff, there's no reason to tune in. If you only had one TV, which I don't, and I'm going to the Yankee game anyway, the Yankee-Dodgers World Series, so I don't know how much I'm going to watch Giants and Steelers. But if you only had one TV and you had to watch something tonight, and you could only pick between the Giants and the Steelers or Game 3 of the World Series, you pick Game 3 of the World Series. So, Stu, confidence that the Yankees win tonight?
I think they'll win tonight, but I'm not totally confident.
You being held hostage over there? You don't really sound all that confident. If I'm being honest.
I'm not very confident.
Okay.
I'm hopeful they'll win tonight.
You think this World Series is over? Like if the Yankees come on back and win the World Series at 100%, what would you put that number at right now?
Like 12%.
Okay, so pretty low. Number 12, is that you taking a shot at Tom Brady? Rubbing it in, going 12, and hey, Giselle's pregnant. How about that? You're not the father. That was a low-class move by you, Steph. All righty, that's the Zach Gelb Show on this Monday. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Jake Retzloff, the quarterback at BYU, is going to join us. I'd like to thank Jeremiyah Love, the running back at Notre Dame that has at least one touchdown in every game this season, for joining us earlier today. Samter, thank you. Stu, thank you. Ack, thank you. And a big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in to the Zach Gelb Show extravaganza on a Monday. Talk tomorrow, everybody. We out. Bye-bye.
Peace!